bit about why I think some of the things that are said about me aren't accurate. I want to leave you with 3 things, and these are the 3 reasons why I believe that I would really want your vote, and I think that I'm more qualified for your vote than my other good friend who's my opponent in this race. Number 1, I'm the businessman in this race. We need businessmen in Austin. I have business experience working for a Fortune 500 company, and I'm that guy. 2, I think that Bill did a wonderful job when he served down in 2006 and 2008. But let's be honest, friends, we face a formidable Democrat in Carol Kent, and we need a person who's going to fight hard, who's going to be able to win some of those votes that we might otherwise lose if we have a guy on the guy who might not appeal to some of the folks that Carol Kent's going to appeal to. I can beat Carol Kent. I will beat her handily. I'm not as certain about Bill. I will work for him, and I will be sure that we do everything we can to make sure he wins if he wins this primary, but I'm not as certain about his ability to beat Carol as I'm certain about my ability to beat Carol, just based on his record going against Alan Vaught twice, once as an incumbent. So the 3rd reason is because I do believe it's time for a fresh perspective in Austin. I think we need young fighters, people who can lead on issues, and people who can bring in new hearts and minds into the party in a real and meaningful way. So I'll leave you with this and I'll open up for questions. I'm a strong, true, tested conservative that believes in the ideas of limited government and smaller government. I care about the issues that we care about. I am not in favor of amnesty. I'm not in favor of a DREAM Act that's proposed by the Democrats. And I'm going to be with you down there fighting every single day to make sure that we do what's best for the people in this room and for the people in District 114. I thank you for listening to me, and I hope to answer any questions that you might have. Yes, sir.
You know, I have a question. You brought up a really important point, and it not only is in your race, but it's all the way across the spectrum, and that has to do with the old school Republicans versus the really conservative Tea Party Republicans that are coming into the races. From your perspective, if you were sitting in my chair,
Sure.
how would you make that evaluation? What would you look at, and if I was looking at you and your competitor, what would you say? What would you be thinking about how to make that decision and that differentiation between somebody that is old school, going to do the things the way they've always been done, and the new tough guys like you represent yourself to be, that are fighters that are going to be in there for true conservative values?
That's a great question, and it's one that I struggle with. I'm not going to lie to you. Look, like I said before, Bill's a tried and true conservative. I read his literature, and I agree. You know, when he was down in the legislature, he voted the right way on a lot of issues, and I respect him for that, and I commend his service, and I've told him that many times. I think the differences here is we have to look at his ability to affect real change. Now, you look at the voting record, that's good. You look at the leadership, sponsoring bills, making change, doing things. I don't know so much about that. I looked a little bit, didn't see a whole lot. I think we need leaders in 114. I think we need people who are capable of changing minds and people who are capable of making a difference for the people in 114. So what I would do if I were sitting in your chair, I would look at the 2 folks and I'd say, Bill's a good guy. That Villalba, he's not as bad as I thought he was. He's more conservative than I thought he was. But that Villalba seems like he's got fire. He's got fire in the belly.
Who are you talking about?
And he's going to go down there and make a real difference. He's going to change the way things are done, and he's going to lead on issues, and he's going to sponsor bills that make you proud that you elected him instead of the other guy. And that's how I make that decision.
I am very concerned about Straus. He went
Straus.
in the House. He's a speaker. He went to the Democrats and got them all to vote for him, promising them the chairman of the committees in the House of Representatives.
Right.
Now, how in the world are you ever going to vote for that?
I know the history on Straus.
It is terrible.
Look, I've heard from a number of my good friends that they don't like what he stood for.
What do you see for him?
Well, did you hear me say I was for him? What I said was...
You said you could vote for him.
Sure I could. I could vote for Bill Hughes, or Brian Hughes too. I could vote for... What I want to make sure when I go down there is that the first thing that they don't do after the House member, after the Speaker is elected, is put me on the lowest of the low committees. if I'm on dog catcher committee because I voted for the opponent of the person who ultimately prevails, I will get nothing done for anybody in this room. And I can talk all day about being Mr. Leader on issues.
So you would vote for Straus to get a leadership post?
That's not true. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. What I said was I would vote for the person who would most enable me to be able to affect real change for the people in this room. Now, I'm not looking for a leadership role. I'm just looking to go to Austin to do the kinds of things that we want, that are good for the folks in this room.
He paid over $250,000 to numerous congressmen.
We can talk about.
I'm asking a question.
Yes, sir.
He paid Republicans to vote for him for the speaker, which had no, and that's how he got elected this last time. The time before, he got all the Democrats promising them the committees.
I don't know.
How can you vote for that?
I don't know the facts on what he paid. I don't know the facts on the promises to. Well, I'm sure you can. And again,
I think your background is great. It's really great for that.
I'm not here to argue with you whether or not Straus makes sense or not. What I'm here to argue is for my.
He is the most dangerous thing up there.
I will vote on legislation. I will vote on legislation.
I don't think we'll ever get to the bottom of this question.
We'll talk more about it, but I want to answer Glee's question.
We'll take one more non-Straus question.
It's a non-Straus question.
All right.
What is your opinion of casino gambling? I know that Jack Pratt is one of your supporters who's giving you money and also has a big sign at his house. What do you think?
Well, let's talk about casino gambling. That's a good one. Now, as I said on the radio when Bill's sitting right next to me, I'm a Baptist. I went to Baylor, for heaven's sake. I don't believe in gambling. I think it's bad. I think the social ills that follow from gambling are bad for communities and they harm folks. I'm against gambling as an individual, but I'll tell you this. The legislature already made the decision to gamble here in Texas with the lottery. So I'm not debating the gambling thing. Now let's talk about casino. Now casino, I'm not in favor of it as by itself. But I think that when we start losing billions of dollars to Louisiana and to Oklahoma, and in an age where we have a crisis in the economy here, if that's the only way to bridge the gap, the only way, the last way, the final frontier after, before we cut into rainy day fund, before we do a lot of things that would be very dangerous for the state, and after we've cut as deeply as we can into other areas, we have at least got to consider it, not me individually, but I need to let the people, you in this room, make your decisions for yourself. So I'm not your parent, and I'm not your pastor. I want you to have the ability to vote on that if it comes to that. Now again, I'm not saying I'm for it, and I'm not saying that I'm going to be proposing it or sponsoring a bill, but I'm saying if after everything we go through and we still have a shortfall, before I want to cut into rainy day fund, before I want to cut a wheelchair from my aunt in the nursing home, I at least got to consider that allowing you to make the decision. If I get to vote, I'm voting no. But if you get to vote and the people get to vote, I can't keep you from being able to do that.
So what you're saying is that you would not oppose having something put out to the voters so they could make that decision rather than the House and the Senate.
I'm saying I would never vote. It would have to go to you. It would have to go to the people first.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I would only be in favor of it going to the people as a last resort. And I think Bill and I share the same position on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, everybody.
thanks, Jason.
Okay.